Hello, hello! Are we live? Ignore my hair. My hair is a perpetual mess. It's just like this ever-changing mass. It acts on its own. I think it looks alright, man. I need to turn my volume down. Anyways, how are we? Adrian, welcome to the stream. How you doing, my dude? Just gonna tweak that. I think the music was too loud. How's the audio balance, guys? How's the audio balance? Yes, Adrian, you're first. People are always doing like first in comments. No one does it in live chat. Why don't I do like? Oh wait, I didn't hear that. My phone wasn't muted. Sorry. Let me fix that. I could hear myself, bro. There was probably an echo. Sorry about that. But yeah, like how would you count first? Be just first in the chat period as soon as the page is published. First after the stream goes live, because it happens at different times for everybody because of like delays and latencies and stuff. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Welcome back, everyone, to Debate Direct, episode 72. You know, this isn't the time for reflection, but like, whenever I come and look at the, episode number now, I'm like, oh my god. There have been 72 of these now? 72? And let me just be honest with you guys, okay? There's today's, like goal. Sorry, I was muted. Like goal's over here. There's a QOTD and the charity shoutout. Talk about that more later. If I actually go to the Debate Direct playlist, you guys will see that despite being called Debate Direct, you know, the first place you go to for those debates, those discussions, hardly any of these episodes have actually been debates. I don't think I've ever, a single time, hosted an actual organized debate in a traditional way. I'm not really a fan of traditional debates. Debate is just kind of the best word to describe this, but look at this. We got Would You Rather, we got Q&As, we got game reviews, we got IQ tests, and we got tier lists, you know? This was an actual debate, to be fair. I mean, still kind of a loose, relaxed thing, but in terms of actual debates, we've had 1, 2, I guess. 3, 4, I guess, maybe, kind of. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, kind of, 10. 9, 10, 11, yeah, that's it, 12. And that's like with a loose definition. Even if we use a looser definition, of the 72 Debate Directs, only 12 of them have been actual debates, and only like 5 of those were even on like controversial topics, which is something I want to do more of. It's just that, all people want to see is fun and games. They just want to see tier lists of FNAF. They just want to see, fun tests and quizzes online. But, I want to open up discussion on heavier topics, because I don't think they should be taboo. And, if you feel uncomfortable with it, if you're not qualified to talk about it, that's fine. You can just sit and watch. There are 5 people watching the stream right now, but only 1 of them in chat. If you guys don't want to talk, that's fine. But I would love to actually have a conversation with you and say hi, because that's why I do streaming. That's the whole point. So yeah, Adrian, I guess you're the first ever historically. You are the ultimate. You're first, man, alright? You are first. Wear the badge with honor. But yeah, for everybody watching, well, let's get into this. Should assisted dying be legalized? Euthanasia. The idea of mercy killing terminally ill patients is obviously controversial. There are many rational arguments for and against this policy, so what do we think about this? Join me as we explore the various pros and cons of euthanasia, but be warned, it's a grim topic. Now, I am going to be having a collaborator on with me, a guest star, but she is currently, she's currently, well, I don't know what she's doing, to be honest. I'm going to message her on Discord now and just see if she can join us, when she can join us. I'm just gonna, think she might be walking home from work right now. I'm not sure. I feel like I should have started this stream a bit later because my brother's still recording outside. My collaborator's not here yet. There's only 1 person in chat. I don't know. I'm just gonna roll with it and do what I gotta do. Also, this is interesting. I'll show this off actually. if I go over to here, I've actually got limited monetization on this, so it's nice to see that, like, actually, some of my streams do fall under this. It's kind of working that out. Obviously, YouTube's not going to give all the ads to such a controversial topic. Like, if I have assisted dying and euthanasia in the title, the content identified is not suitable for most advertisers. It's still fully playable and eligible to earn subscription revenue from YouTube Premium. But, yeah, my monetization is limited, so that's fine. That is absolutely fair. I don't want to review this, I don't think. I just want to look at this. It's kind of interesting. But, like, all of my streams so far have just been, like, green. And I've been waiting, like, none of these gonna, like, be, like, limited. Because they do, like, they delve into certain topics. And, yeah, this is literally a debate about assisted dying and euthanasia. So this doesn't surprise me. But that's absolutely cool. But, yeah, controversial issues. Unsettling and often the result of human tragedy. Even if the content is purely commentary and contains no graphic imagery. Absolutely. You know, it's only going to be brands who opt in, you know, because, yeah, it's a controversial topic, so that's fine. I mean, I can turn on ads if it's just if it's a reference. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I could turn on ads for this, but it's just one stream of many, so I'm not fussed. I'm not going to ask for a review. I just think it's interesting. Anyways, let's get on with this. So, yeah, we've got basically, same as always, guys, I've got 5 articles here, and I'm just going to read through them and just start discussing and learning the pros and cons of really thinking about this. If you want to bounce off ideas in chat, please go ahead. My collaborator is currently AFK, so I will just, she'll be joining us later. For now, let's just get into this. So, yeah. Adrian, that's really cool, actually, that you're practicing water bucket emojis. Who's the first legend king of Minecraft? Technoblade? I don't know who you're talking about. But anyways, I mean, there's plenty. So, euthanasia. What is euthanasia? Assisted suicide. Euthanasia, according to the NHS, is the National Health Service of the United Kingdom, is the act of deliberately ending a person's life to relieve suffering. In fact, I will look up the word on its own, and I'll do what I did for some of our other streams, and actually just look at a few, like, dictionary definitions. We've got Britannica. Can we actually get, like, a dictionary definition? I mean, we've got one there. But I want to open up, like, the usual websites. This isn't... Healthline sucks, and Britannica is not what I'm looking for. If we go to, like, Merriam-Webster. Here we go. Merriam-Webster. Where's... I guess medical dictionary. I was looking for, like, Oxford and, you know, Cambridge. Yeah. You know, that kind of thing. But anyways, yes, so euthanasia is the act or practice of killing or permitting the death of a hopelessly sick or injured individual, or individuals such as persons or domestic animals, in a relatively painful way for reasons of mercy. An easy or painless death. The deliberate ending of the life of a person suffering an incurable disease. So it's not, legally speaking, it is not murder. It is not technically murder, but it is the deliberate ending of someone's life. Specifically in the context of, you know, ending the suffering of someone with a hopelessly incurable disease, you know? Someone with, like, you know, an incurable disease who is slowly dying anyways. That's kind of the idea. I'm zooming these in nice and big so you guys can read them on the stream, because I know it's, like, within a box and it's all small, and on mobile especially, like, you might not be able to read it if I'm having it at, like, you know, the normal zoom. You know, like I'm sure you might be struggling to read this unless you're watching, like, the highest graphics quality. But if I do this, you should all be able to read it. So, yeah. Again, someone who's very ill, very old, you know, ending their life and killing them so that they are, you know, not suffering anymore. So that's the idea, you know, again, in the context of having an incurable and painful disease or an irreversible coma. Coma, really? That's a slippery slope. So yeah, that's what euthanasia is. I don't think I need to, like, write out a definition for it. Like, I think it's pretty clear-cut, and the definition is explored in these articles. So, let's get on with this. So, euthanasia and assisted suicide. Euthanasia is the act of deliberately ending a person's life to relieve suffering. For example, it could be considered euthanasia if a doctor deliberately gave a patient with a terminal illness a drug they do not otherwise need, such as an overdose of sedatives or muscle relaxant with the sole aim of ending their life. Assisted suicide is the act of deliberately assisting another person to kill themselves. If a relative of a person with a terminal illness obtains strong sedatives, knowing the person intended to use them to kill themselves, the relative may be considered to assisting suicide. Now, I'm just going to give you some, like, real world talk. The law in the United Kingdom, I am from the United Kingdom, this may be different in your country, I don't know where you're watching this from, In my country, the law is that both euthanasia and assisted suicide are illegal. They are both illegal. And we're focusing on euthanasia rather than assisted suicide, but it is important to know the difference. Euthanasia is, I guess, a form. It can be in a form of assisted suicide, but it's not really the same thing. So assisted suicide is obviously illegal under the terms of Suicide Act of 1961 and is punishable up to 14 years of imprisonment. Trying to kill yourself is not a criminal act. I don't know why they felt the need to add this. Like, obviously it's not. If you kill yourself, then, you know, you're dead. What are they gonna do? Fine you? They're gonna put you in prison? Oh wait, no, trying. So attempted suicide isn't a criminal act. That's interesting. See, suicide usually comes from a place of, suffering rather than malice. So I can kind of get behind that. That's interesting. I never even thought about that. So, obviously, if you try and commit suicide, you're not going to be punished for it. But if you try and get someone else to commit suicide, that's kind of like indirect murder. I can see why that's kind of, you know, illegal. Euthanasia, however, depending on the circumstances, euthanasia is regarded as either manslaughter or murder. The maximum penalty is life imprisonment. So, if someone is euthanized in the UK, they can be punished pretty much the exact same as, like, first-degree murder, you know? Or is it third degree? I don't remember which one's the higher one. Second degree? Whatever. And manslaughter, for those of you who don't know, is basically, like, accidental murder. Like, your actions led to the death of someone without any kind of intent. I think that's... I need to remind myself, what are the degrees of murder? Like, because I looked this up recently. I looked this up, and it was kind of like a whole thing. Degrees of murder. I don't remember how it works. Oh, this is United States law. I mean, I guess that's useful to know. It doesn't apply to me. If I go murder UK law. Do we have degrees? I think it works differently here. Yeah, what I'm thinking of is the American system. Oh, right, yeah, so first is the highest. First felony, you know, homicide, second degree murder, and then third degree, which is like, you know, manslaughter. Alright, whatever. Anyways, so types of euthanasia. Euthanasia can be classified as voluntary or non-voluntary. Someone making a conscious decision to die and ask out to do someone. And euthanasia where the person is unable to give their consent. For example, they're in a coma and another person takes the decision on their behalf, perhaps because the other person previously expressed a wish for their life to be ended in such circumstances. And yeah. And this, again, this is the NHS page, so it's kind of taking a turn and talking more about, like, end-of-life care for old people, that kind of thing. So, you know, that's a whole thing. But, like, this is euthanasia. That's kind of like the introduction, okay? Also, it would appear my collaborator is here. So, let me just read chat, make sure everything's tip-top. And, yeah, Adrian, you're right. It is Technoblade. Yeah. I'm from Slovenian. You mean you are Slovenian? Slovakia? It's okay. Like, if you were actually... Oh, no. Slovenia is a country. I've not heard of Slovenia. It's a whole separate country. Wow. That's sad. I should really learn my Eastern European countries, because I'm doing them a massive disrespect by not knowing which is which. Okay, interesting. I'm looking at the wiki page for Slovenia on a map and everything. That's cool. That's cool. So Slovenia... Am I pronouncing it correctly? Wait.
Slovenia.
Yeah, Slovenia. Okay. But yeah, that's interesting. Interesting. Anyways, yeah. No. I'm just an idiot. So I've never heard of Slovenia. But yeah, no, that's fine, Adrian. And also, Livy. Hello there. Livy, it's time. Call me. Because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today's collaborator, as said in the description, is Livy. It's Livy PK. You'll know her. Here she is. Livy. Hi, how are you? Hello? I can't hear you. Yeah, okay, she's having some tech issues, guys.
Hello?
I can hear you now. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. Just exhausted. Work
I'm just
sucks.
gonna turn the music down. I think people can't hear you over it very well. So, yeah, you just came home from work.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Livy, thank you for joining me on this debate. Naturally, and especially with all of the, under 18s in my community, a lot of people kind of opted out of this. It's a controversial topic, and it's kind of like, might not be comfortable talking about it. But I didn't expect you, of all people, to be interested in debating this, so I really appreciate you joining, because it's a pretty serious topic, but I want to do more of these debates. I don't want to shy away from taboo topics, even if my ads are limited or whatever. I'm not fussed about that. I really don't care. It's not like I make any money off them anyway, and it's one stream of many. So yeah, why'd you join this stream? What interested you about this one?
Well, I do think, even though, like, it is a bit of, like, because obviously covering death at any point is, like, a sad topic.
Yeah.
It is something that does need to be talked about, because it is, like, a serious thing. So, yeah. Just thought, because it's, like, something serious, it should be talked about.
I respect it. See? That's what you like to see. Also, DJ, did I put hashtag tier list in the description? That is a mistake. That's left over from the last stream. That's not supposed to be there. Let me get rid of that. Thanks for pointing that out. Also, welcome, DJ. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. So, Adrian, I don't know what other Livies there are. If you're thinking of Lucy's friend Olivia from, like, forever ago, like, I don't talk to her much anymore, but she was in some of the old debate directs. But no, this is Livy PK. For those of you who don't know, this is Livy's YouTube channel. She does some great videos. You should definitely go check her out. We're collaborating all the time. She's got a lot of cool stuff on there. Fall Guys, Five Nights at Freddy's, Star Wars, Lego, all kinds of gameplays. So go check out her channel. Very, very cool stuff. She's also a chat moderator, as you can see. Anyway, Livy, so before we begin, I've basically just introduced the idea of euthanasia as a concept and explained, like, what it is. What is your opinion on euthanasia? What's, like, your first, just, like, without any kind of, discussion going forward with the articles yet, what's your, understanding of euthanasia?
Well, the way I see it, kind of like, so obviously it's, like, assisting someone, like, with their death. But kind of the way I see it, if someone's in a situation where they're, like, really suffering and they do want a way out, I think probably, like, I don't know how to phrase it, but basically,
take your time. We can get back to this because we're going to do a lot of discussion anyway. But I'm just like, I don't know. Do you think assisted dying should be legalized? Like, yes or no? You can say unsure. It's nuanced.
I'm kind of unsure because the thing is, I feel like it should be an option, but at the same time, it's like
it's a slippery slope, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's get into it. I've got a lot of articles to read, and we're just going to use this as a prompt to keep discussion going. Same as we did for, like, animal rights and that kind of stuff. So, we looked at the NHS website just now, Livy. The links are all in the description if you guys want to read these articles for yourselves in full. I'm not going to be reading every single one the whole way through. We don't have time for that. But it's a good place to start if you want to do your own research as well and find more articles and teach yourself about it. It's great. But yeah, UK law is that euthanasia, just like assisted suicide, which is similar but not the same, is illegal. And it's punishable pretty much the same way as manslaughter or murder. Like, it's up there. And yeah, it is specifically the act of deliberately ending a person's life because, in like a medical context, because they're suffering, they have a terminal illness, and they're kind of in a hopeless situation. And it's performed by a doctor, like lethal injection is usually the way, it's supposed to be painless, supposed to be calm. It's a very specific form of death. And yeah, it's technically a form of suicide because, well, there's the thing. Do they have consent? And it changes. So let's look at these other articles. So that was NHS. Soapboxy.com has this. Euthanasia pros and cons. Should people have the right to die? Interesting way of phrasing, isn't it? The right to die. Is death a human right? And also, here's the images for the thumbnail. This is public domain. It says so here, so I'm allowed to use it. I thought it was perfect. I was really struggling because I was like, God, what image do I put in the thumbnail? Do I just write my own text? No image. Anyway, so the right to die debate is an emotive and contentious one. The arguments are usually focused around the ethics and legalities of allowing people who are terminally ill to request and receive assisted dying. One of the biggest problems exists around who should decide if euthanasia should be carried out, especially if the person in question is not in a fit state to make their own decision for reasons of illness or injury. For example, someone's in a coma, but before they're in the coma, they said, you know, if I'm in a coma and there's like no way for me out, just end my life, just off me. Is euthanasia still the right thing to do in that situation? Also, before we continue, just reading chat. Livy, do I need to update your icon? Because I've got the one I've got here. You've updated it, haven't you? For your on Discord,
yeah.
Your YouTube channel. Do I need to update your profile picture?
Probably, yeah.
Alright, do you want to send me the new one so I can update that as we go? This is the old Livy PK profile picture, guys. Say goodbye, because she's got a new one.
I gotta find it first.
Adrian, if you want to collaborate with me, join the Discord server. I can give you a role. I'm not going to give it to you immediately, just as a sake of principle, because I want to be fairly strict about handing out collaboration with people. But if you've got an idea for a collaboration, directly message me. If it's in a group, I'll give you access. But if it's just you and me, then we can just DM and organize it there. So, message me. I'm on Discord. You know where to find me. Anyway, thanks, Livy. So euthanasia is regarded as a mercy killing by some. And it is actually illegal in Switzerland, Belgium, and the Netherlands. And even in countries where it is illegal, the law is often not enforced in practice, which is kind of not good. I don't know why it's not being enforced. That sounds like a problem with the country there. But again, it's a very contentious topic. Now, it didn't become a major issue until the 20th century, because that's when advances in medicine meant that doctors were able to keep hospital patients alive for very long periods of time, even when they had lost many of their basic bodily functions through sickness or injury. There have been profound ethical issues for over 2,000 years, according to Ezekiel Emanuel. I'm not sure this is some kind of doctor, but it's, you know, not really been in practice until recently. So there's two forms of euthanasia, active and passive. Again, you know, what do they call it on the other page? Consensual, non-consensual, where someone is effectively killed. Oh, wait, no, this is different. Oh, no. So euthanasia can be voluntary, where someone asks to die, or non-voluntary, where someone's unable to give consent. And it can also be active, where someone is effectively killed, for example, given an overdose of morphine that basically just puts them to sleep. Or passive, where a person dies because the medicine treatment that is keeping them alive is withdrawn or stopped. So rather than being given something, it's just the absence of medicine that, you know, kills them. There's varying religious attitudes. I'm not going to go too deeply into that, quite frankly. It doesn't interest me. That's not what we're here for. Religion, whatever. No offense, but I want to talk about the moral and legal aspects of it. So what we've got listed below are some pros and cons, some basic arguments to kind of get us going. And yeah, 7 pros, 6 cons. Let me just zoom out here so I can see all of this. But yeah, so here's some basic arguments that you might hear about euthanasia. I'm sorry to interrupt, by the way. I promise this is the last time, but I'm going to update Livy's profile picture now, because I want to do that. Thank you.
It's in circle form. I don't know why.
That is absolutely fine. Circle form is excellent. I am more than happy to have circle form. While we're doing this, I wanted to ask, how come you changed your profile picture, and like, where is this from? Did you make it yourself, or?
Kind of made it myself. I kind of like.
Guys. Yeah,
I thought, because I haven't had it changed for like.
There it is.
And I kind of wanted to do not a channel rebrand, but I wanted to change my channel up just a little bit. I just thought changing my profile picture would be cool. So, yeah, it's got cool. Dark Hollow from Spyro in the background, and then...
Yeah, I recognise. I thought, that's a Spyro
area. Yeah, and then, obviously, like, it's not me, but it's supposed to be like a little character that looks like me.
Yeah, same as before. It does look like you, I think. It's pretty close. But yeah. Okay, guys, now I'm cropped out the white, but I'm going to do that another time. We don't have time for that right now. But yeah, looks good. There's a new profile picture. So anyway, so pros and cons of euthanasia. So here's some arguments for. Here's why euthanasia should be legalized. People should be allowed to choose. There could not be a more fundamental issue of individual liberty than the right to decide whether to live or die. Control over one's body should be a fundamental right. I think I can agree with that. I don't know why someone would want to die. I would never want to die. But if someone did, I think they should be allowed to at least voice that and, have the choice. Euthanasia can reduce or prevent human suffering, of course, by relieving people suffering extreme pain. And forcing people to suffer against their will is wrong. I'm kind of 50-50 on this. I can understand intolerable pain, but, I mean, how hopeless can the situation really get? I'm more of a fight to the end kind of guy. I don't know. But, yeah. Okay. They're rational arguments. They make sense. I might disagree with them, but they make sense. Of course, again, this is basically reiterating the same thing. This can relieve suffering when someone's quality of life has become drastically low, when they're, like, paralyzed or something, And they have to be, like, spoon-fed, freaking, like, and they can't, like, chew properly, or, like, through tubes, that kind of thing, and just not being able to, like, walk or talk. But, Stephen Hawking, it can free up healthcare resources for help someone else who is severely ill. So, this kind of goes back to another debate I did, talking about the death penalty. And I'll talk about this more later, but I think there's this overarching temptation of, this is kind of on a slippery slope morally, but it would be practical. This person dies, that's resources, that's money, time, energy being saved for other people who need it. You can't deny it. It's true. If they're not here anymore, yeah. There's only so much I can defend that, but yes, there is the pragmatic approach. Number 5 of 7. Modern medicine can often keep people alive indefinitely, even if they are not conscious. It is therefore imperative that rules for when it is right to end a life are explored, rather than a blanket ban or termination under certain circumstances. Exactly. Again, it comes back to just the idea of choice, liberty, free will, and, exploring all options, rather than just having a strict rule for all cases, because, again, it's a nuanced thing. There isn't going to be one size fits all, not in anything, and certainly not in this case, there should be a choice in there. 6, euthanasia does not mean a lack of care and compassion. On the contrary, the patient's needs are put up first. Again, some people would say it's evil, you're killing them. Some would say they want to die. We are doing them a favor. This is the most honorable, empathetic thing you can do. Compassionate thing you can do. And number 7 says, allowing living wills opens up the possibility of people determining themselves whether their life is artificially extended after encountering serious illness or health issues. I don't quite understand this one. Wills, as in, like, after you die wills? I don't know. It basically boils down to free will, freeing up healthcare resources, relieving suffering. The kind of, like, legal and logistical aspect of it. So, Livy, what do you think? Do any of these arguments convince you? Do you agree or disagree with these arguments?
I agree with the fact that people should be allowed to choose, definitely.
You guys can read this.
I feel like
think about it.
with number 4, whilst it is right, it does sound like a little bit harsh. Like,
oh wow.
Because obviously if someone is in a coma and they're not gonna wake up or something and they decide to pull the plug on them, yes, that will free up healthcare resources. Sounds a little bit harsh.
It's like treating the person as just a resource or a number. That's kind of, it's like the detached and cold kind of lack of emotion, I guess, with it, the lack of empathy. It's like, oh well, we'll free up resources at the cost of someone's life. They're just a resource. It's fine. While I understand argument 4 and I agree, I also absolutely agree with that, and I feel like that argument is really just a little bonus. I don't think argument number 4, also I'm amazed, but my stream quality is so good now, because I've got 60 FPS and 1080p, The resolution around the frame rate's the crucial thing, but because I'm now able to stream in higher quality, you guys can still read this when it's zoomed down. I'm going to zoom in when I'm reading, but zoom out just to view them all like this. So, yeah, I would say argument number 4, I agree with, and I think it's solid, but I wouldn't use that to rely on the argument at all. I think that's just a bonus, because if your whole argument was just freeing up resources, not worth it. Absolutely not worth it, because what you're doing is reducing a person's life to like a resource and thinking about nothing but like money and stuff, which is just, that's never what medicine and healthcare should be about, ever. So what about the other arguments? You agree with like the fundamental right to individual liberty and stuff, right? Like, oh yeah, people should be allowed to choose. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, I think you can't argue against that. You can't. It is, people deserve the right to choose. If there is a reason someone wants to die, they should be allowed to have that option, although I would probably fight my hardest to talk them out of it. You know, even if they were in like a, you know, situation like this. I don't know, man. Do you think, you know, I mean, relieving suffering? Arguments 2 and 3, like...
I think if someone really badly, then if they, like, choose to, like, if they choose to die, like, if that's what they want, because they're really suffering, I think it's only, like, you should respect that that's what they want. Like, even though it would probably be really upsetting.
Yeah,
if that's what they want, then you gotta respect it.
It's, again, that kind of ties back to number 1. I think it just comes down to, like, you have a deep, long talk with the individual. It comes down to individual choice. There's no blanket rules. And again, this is why I agree with number 5 as well, that, like, there shouldn't be a blanket ban or termination. It's like, everyone should have the option, the choice, and there should be, like, a lot of, you know, things to consider, and a lot of checks, and a lot of kind of, like, you know, not loopholes, a lot of, like, hoops to jump through in order to get to that point. Because, like, ending your life is an extremely serious thing. And, like, I think, you know, that should only be done if the patient is absolutely sure. If there is even a chance that, like, they, you know, would be better off not being euthanized, then, like, me personally, I would say that. I don't know why anyone would ever want to die, because the way I see it, I mean, extreme suffering and pain, I get it, but also, you know, we don't know what happens when people die, and that's probably scarier. There's no guarantees. It's kind of unknown, and I feel like it doesn't matter how much pain you're in. Being alive, I mean, that has to be worth it somehow. I mean, like, you would have to be in a astronomically bad situation to be better off dead. Because, like, there's always someone there for you, like family and friends. And I feel like there's always got to be something you can do to make life worth living. Because there are all these incredible stories of people out there. I mentioned Stephen Hawking as a joke, but actually, like, dude was paralyzed from a young age, and he went on to become one of the greatest scientists in the world. You know, you ever seen those videos of those people born without, like, limbs and stuff? There's, like, a guy who has, like, a foot, and, like, that's it. It's just, like, a foot, a torso, and a head. And it's, like, he does, like, motivational speeches or something. There's a guy with, like, no arms, but he has hands, and he's, like, fully capable of driving. Like, I've seen videos. It's just kind of incredible. So, I don't know. I guess it's not the same as being, like, bedridden, but I'm trying to think of, like, extreme examples. I mean, that's more like disability. We're really thinking, like, you know, bedridden, hospital, kind of, I don't know, terminal illness. And then there's comas, which is different again. I do have some charities in the shoutout list which relate to this. Like, I recently added Shooting Star Children's Hospices, which is supporting children, you know, with that. And also Child's Play. The developer of Deltarune, Toby Fox, started a new thing with a children's hospital on a hospice. Very interesting. But that's not... Talk about that another time. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change today's charity shout out because this one is new. And I want to feature it while it's new. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Okay. So I think we generally agree with the pros. But what do the cons have to say? Could the cons change our mind? Let's have a look. I see chat as well. Adrian, Discord's easy to get. You just need to sign up. You need to have an email address. I'm sure you've got one if you have a Google account. Just make an account. It takes like 2 minutes. And DJ, that's the thing, right? It sounds kind of like, you know, evil, but it's a fact of the matter that, you know, and this, again, it was the same thing with, you know, if we had the death penalty in place, certain undesirables, you know, could be off to save resources on other prisoners who need it. Even if it was for, like, rehabilitation, though, I'm still against having the death penalty, and that's explained in that one. But yeah, it's a kind of, it's a slippery slope. It's a yikes topic, but worth discussing. So, let's talk about the cons. Cons of euthanasia. The idea that every human life is precious and has value is undermined by euthanasia. Just kind of fundamental moral thing. 2. Most medical professionals do not want to be involved with killing patients, as it is the total opposite as what they see as their purpose, which is healing people and saving lives. It pretty much goes against the Hippocratic Oath, like, to euthanize a patient. Like, it's, I don't know, man. It's kind of, you know, going against, you know, the definition of being a doctor. Or even a nurse, you know. And there's a danger, of course, that euthanasia could be used to control healthcare costs, with the patient's needs and wishes taking second place. That's number 3. Number 4 says that, whatever the theory, disputes over mercy killings can often be very difficult in practice, as it is not always clear what the patient wants or is in their interests. It is likely that more euthanasia requests would result in more extended legal battles. Take, for instance, the case of the Florida woman Terry Schiavo, who was in a coma for years. Her husband wanted the hospital to remove her feeding tube, and her parents fought a legal battle to try and stop that from happening. I want to know what the result of that was, though. Like, did they win? Terry Schiavo. What happened? Oh no. I'm reading about this. So, basically, Shaba's feeding tube was removed. She died. She was allowed to die. Her husband won the case. That's sad. Because here's the thing, right? So, you know, if the patient isn't a coma or like isn't able to really like, you know, if they're in some kind of like vegetative state, they're not able to, you know, rationally, you know, argue or like, you know, reason why they want to, you know, like die or not die, then, you know, that's basically killing them without their consent. I mean, that like, we don't know if she actually agreed to her husband's wishes. We don't know. And, again, extended legal battles that these euthanasia requests cause would, you know, cost a lot of money to do, an organization, and a lot of work with resources, again, that could be saved somewhere else. So there's a con about saving resources. It'd be better to just not have it. It's very interesting. Super Soul, welcome to the stream. Now, that's a fair comment. She was pretty much done for, unfortunately. Would have had to happen eventually one day or another. Now, that's a fair argument. Nice to see some different points being brought up in chat. You guys are killing it. Oh, that was probably a joke in bad taste. Not intentional.
Really not
Sorry.
great for the topic.
I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it when I said that was not intentional.
SMH, Matthew.
I'm sorry, Livy. SMHing right now. Anyway, number 5. If voluntary euthanasia is allowed, then there is a danger of it developing into a slippery slope situation where, say, sick elderly people end up having their lives terminated because selfish relatives don't want to look after them or out of greed for inheritance money. So again, a lot of the cons come down to euthanasia in practice. If it was allowed, there's a danger of one thing leading to another, and, you know, having, you know, relatives kind of weasel away around and find loopholes to just, you know, terminate them for the sake of greed or inheritance money, you know. Oh, it's like the, you know, the royal family say, oh, waiting for you to die so I can get that inheritance. It's like, you know, the you know, upper class, they're just disgustingly, you know, backstabbing. I don't know. That would happen. That would happen. I mean, I'm not sure how selfish relatives would get to decide. They'd still need the consent of sick elderly people, but I suppose they could manipulate them. But yeah, I don't know. The thing is, if this became the norm, if this was normalized, one thing could lead to another, and that would, you know, lead to a slippery slope. It's the same thing with the death penalty. The fact that it becomes a possibility means it opens up the possibility, no guarantee, but the possibility of mistakes, of, you know, one thing to another, going into laws that are just completely immoral and, you know, that kind of thing. And last but not least, number 6. The 6th con is that euthanasia has a dark history and was used in Nazi Germany for the extermination of children and adults that the government found undesirable, such as the disabled. Keeping it illegal means that no government can ever use it for political means, and this is the most horrifying aspect. If euthanasia was legalized in any way, even in the most limited and specific way, could that lead to some kind of slippery slope where a government could use it for political means and start exterminating people? It would, you know, it's quite a leap, and it would take a while to get there, but how big is that risk? So what do we think? Livy, what do we think of these cons?
I think...
Do you agree or disagree with any of them?
I don't know, the 5th one and the 6th one really stuck out to me, because, like, the 5th one, how messed up do you have to be to euthanize a member of your family just for money? Like, that's really messed up.
That's gross.
And like, the 6th one, I feel like if a government did start doing that, like, there would be protests. People would not be happy about it.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say this now. Number 6. I do think if euthanasia was legalized, there obviously would be a risk of it being abused for malicious reasons. However, there's already enough resistance to euthanasia that I think if it was legalized, there would be more resistance. I think there would just be more debate and more resistance to it being expanded or, you know, being normalized too much, or kind of like, you know, leading on down a slippery slope. So, you know, again, there's so many variables involved, and it's getting super political, but, I mean, how big is the risk? I can't say, but I don't think it's too big. I think, like, even if there was a big risk, or a small risk, that the government, you know, could abuse it, I think there would be so much resistance to it that it would be staggeringly difficult. And I think it's like, it's only when, you know, when you think about how dictatorships tend to rise, if you look at Mussolini, you know, Hitler, Stalin, you know, it's only once they kind of, you know, dictators kind of get their foot in the door and kind of get over those first hurdles that, you know, it gets easier as it goes along. But again, that's another reason to kind of stop it here before it, you know, gets further. Because again, the slippery slope is that it gets more slippery the further down the slope. It's like, it's going uphill. I'm trying to come up with a metaphor that's not making sense. The point is that, like, Hitler was elected. Okay, Hitler was fully... Hitler gained power by fully democratic means with the consent of the people, despite the fact that he had previously been in prison for years and, you know, launched a coup. The, oh, where was it? Oh, I forget the name of the place. The march in 1921. 21? 23? Yeah, anyway, point is that Germany was in a desperate time economically. It was floundering, and people were fooled enough by extremist propaganda to vote Nazi, and that's what happened. You know, with Stalin, it's different. He took power by force, I think, by like manipulating things behind the scenes because Russia was no longer democratic at that point. I'm trying to think of other ones. Mussolini took power by force. Hitler's really the best example, and Hitler's the one that had the biggest effect. So that's the scary part, I think. I don't know. I think you can't really ignore this. As much as I want to believe, I can't vouch for the integrity of the British Constitution. I really can't. The people, the, you know, party, our leaders, I can't. Like, not even remotely. I mean, this just comes down to personal politics, but I do not trust them. Moon Golem, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. The requirements for euthanasia, okay, so it's different from country to country, but as I said at the start, according to the UK, the National Health Service of the United Kingdom of England, it's illegal. So, but basically, in terms of definition, it's the ending of someone's life in a medical context to relieve them of pain and suffering, because they have, like, a hopeless or, like, terminal condition. That's euthanasia. Anyway, Livy, I'm talking too much. I want you to talk more. What do you think of some of the others here? Like,
I think the second one.
Yeah, second one. Hippocratic Oath and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, with the, I think, because obviously one side, like, doctors don't want to be involved in patients' deaths, because, like he said, it goes against, like, what their job is. The same thing is, it might not just be that, it might be the fact that, like, putting the whole being a doctor thing aside, they would be, like, assisting in someone's death, and that might be what's gonna put them off, because no one wants to do that. Like, that's, yeah, I don't know.
The quote is, you know, do no harm. First, do no harm. I will abstain from all intentional wrongdoing and harm. Practice two things in your dealings with disease. Either help or do not harm the patient. So, intentional wrongdoing, harming, does euthanization fall under that? Because, on the one hand, it is relieving them of pain. You don't feel pain when you're dead. At least, there's no proof. It'd be pretty weird if you did, because your nerves aren't working. But you are killing them. You are ending this person's life. Is that a different kind of harm? That is a wrongdoing by law in every context, pretty much. Except if you're in the military, and it's, you know, someone from another country. Yeah, in the combat. But, like, I don't know. I think I can see why this could be an exception. Because you're not harming the patient if they are, you know, if they are requesting to have their life ended. And they have made up their mind. And you have a method to do it that is painless. You have, you know, overdose of morphine or whatever. I don't think that goes against the Hippocratic Oath. On paper. Also, I'm going to be honest, I disagree with argument one. Not every human life is precious and has a value. You know who who isn't precious and doesn't have value? Those bastards who like their crisps unsalted. They can go straight to hell.
No.
Down to the boiler room of hell. Straight to the bottom. I'm kidding. I mean, life is precious. Life is precious, and I think all life deserves to thrive. But it's like, I wouldn't push that extreme above all else. Like, this is kind of not. This is a whole different issue. But as an example, abortion. I am what you would call pro-choice. I would put choice above life, freedom above, you know, life. But I mean, there are some pretty good arguments for the pro-life, and that, you know, sometimes I'm a bit unsure, so that's a whole thing. But I'm a man. I think it should be up to women to decide that, quite frankly. I've never had to deal with pregnancy, and I'm never going to, so that's one for the women to debate. Like, I'm good either way, whatever you guys want. I mean, I think that's the fairest thing to do, right? Because it's, you know, the people who are affected by it the most. Let's just let these old men decide what women get to do with their bodies or not. God.
Absolutely not.
Exactly. Livy's base. She knows what's up. But yeah, all of these arguments are pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Some of them are basically just repeating themselves. Like, again, I mean, a lot of these were pretty similar. With the cons, it's very situational and specific. So they are all different, but they're a lot more situational. So it's like, the pros have more weight because they're broader, but there's fewer of them. The cons, there are more cons, but they're, you know, it's kind of situational. So, yeah, and it's just got, like, some quotes and stuff here.
I feel like the first con, like, I feel like it's kind of a subtle religious sort of thing, I guess.
Yeah, that is absolutely religious. And I'm not religious at all. I think religion is, you know, I'm gonna say it. I think religion is mostly bullshit. I think it's, like, on paper, tend to be, like, these beautiful moral codes. And in practice, they've just been a tool for manufacturing, you know, control of a civilization. The same way with politics. The same as, you know, nationalism. Like, religion is just like a different kind of nationalism. Except instead of being based around a country, it's based around an idea and a fable, which is largely exaggerated and false in any case. And in practice has been used as an excuse to wage wars and exterminate people. It's just kind of, I don't vibe with it, man. No offense to religious people. Being religious is totally fine. But religion itself, I am not on board with because of all the ways it's been misused. Same with politics. I can very well say, oh, I'm a socialist. Oh, I'm a capitalist. But it's like, I mean, not only is that completely broad and, you know, vague, but, like, I don't agree with every single, you know, policy of any specific group or party. I mean, maybe there's one, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting really sidetracked. I just want to reach out for a bit. Unsalted chips, get the pitchforks! But yeah, I hope I explained everything. But yeah, right now, I'm not sure. I'm still not sure. Pros and cons of euthanasia. We're going pretty slowly, guys. Let's pick up the pace and look at the other articles, because, like, I've been reading this out. I said I'd just skip through them. These are basically just 3 more articles of pros and cons. And they're saying a lot of the same things, but I just want to, like, touch on specific things. So, you know, oh god. So this article is delving into child euthanasia. The issue becomes more complicated when the conversation drifts into child euthanasia. Let's say you have a child. A child. It's like the trolley problem. If a child... Okay. I know what to do. Yeah. I see. Okay, Livy. Thought experiment. So, you are done. Finished. Sorry, watching Breaking Bad. If you have,
What?
don't worry about it. If you have an old person, you got someone who's like 90 years old, they're, you know, in a hospital bed, they are, you know, suffering greatly, and they wish to die. Should they be allowed... Should they be euthanized?
I think if that's what they want, you have to respect that. So if they do want that, then...
Let's say they're absolutely set on it. They've explored all the options, they've talked with people, they just want to end it. So you say yes.
Yeah.
Don't let me put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I think... Because you need to respect their decision. If that is really what they want to do, then, yeah.
Principles of liberty. Okay, cool.
But if they're not sure about it, definitely talk about it with them. Because if they're not sure, then they don't want to be making a final decision like that.
Absolutely. If it was me, I would have, like, multiple, like, contracts and stuff to sign. Like a will as well, obviously, like, before they were allowed to be euthanized. Just so it's like, they can't do it unless they're really confident, because if they're not sure, then, yeah, they shouldn't, you know, they should be allowed to live. What if it's an older person, you know, with a terminal illness, who is in a coma? What do you do then?
See, that one's a bit more difficult. Because, obviously, they can't, like, really communicate their thoughts to you on what they want to do.
No.
So it would be up to, like, family and friends. And obviously, like, with that situation you discussed earlier with the husband and then the parents.
Yeah.
Like, the parents wanted her to, like... No. Let's just let her pass away peacefully.
I think you were cut out for a second. So, if someone's in a coma with a terminal illness, does anyone else have the right to decide, you know, if they should be euthanized or not?
I think family definitely. Well, it depends on if they were close with their family or not, because I guess if they're not close with their family might not care as much, which sucks. But yeah, I think the family should definitely have some sort of say, or just someone who was close to them should have a say in it.
But could they actually decide for them?
I think I know there's like some can kind of communicate, like moving their fingers or their eyes
really?
around.
Yeah,
I don't
if they're like
know.
conscious. I mean in a coma. I mean like unconscious. Not paralyzed, in a coma.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day it would be up to whoever's like closest with them. So friends or family, that kind of thing. But I think they would have to eventually make that decision. No matter like how they would have to eventually make a decision.
I disagree. I think no one should be allowed to choose whether someone lives or dies except for the person themselves. I don't know. But this comes on to my next scenario. So in that scenario, I would say no. I think only the person in the coma should be able to decide. So they should be kept alive. But let's say, for example, if this person with a terminal illness in a coma in a hospital previously, at some point prior before they were in a coma, said that if they had been in a coma for like 5-10 years with no hope of being awoken again, that they would be happy to be euthanized. And that time has passed. Should family then be able to decide for them?
I would say yes, because if that's what they've asked for, it's kind of like with a will, like obviously that's the last wishes of what the person wanted.
Yeah.
So technically, if they had said something like that, that would technically be like something that you would find in a will, except it's just like what they've said. So you gotta respect that.
This is the thing. I think if someone's in a coma, it's a difficult thing, right? Because they don't have freedom. We can't apply, like, you know, their choice here. With the choice, we can easily apply it to other. It's like, you know, we can manufacture a law to make it so that it's very much choice-driven by the person who is suffering. But we can't really say whether or not the person with the terminal illness is suffering enough to want to die or not. They're in a coma. We can't communicate with them. So unless they had specifically said, oh, you know, if I'm in a coma for like 10 years, just offer me. Just save the resources. I don't think anyone else should have a say in it. Like, I would rather keep them, like, there for, like, 60 years until they die in their sleep. Just to respect the principle. Which is probably not a great take, considering the resources that would use up. So maybe if I was desperate, I'd let it go after, like, 10 years. But I don't know. The problem to me is consent. I think consent is absolutely critical. And I think unless there is some clear evidence that this person has consented under this scenario to die, I don't think they should be allowed to die. Otherwise, it's effectively murder. That's my take on it. You know.
Yeah, I do
the arguments
think
are good, but liberty, I think, has to come first.
Maybe, like, with the second scenario, maybe there should be, like, some sort of, like, not time limit, but like after a certain amount of years, then
that would be good actually.
Yeah.
If it's like 5 years passes and there's no hope, I mean, you know, I
still
save resources.
I still think like friends and family, like even after however many years it's been since they've been in a coma, I still think friends and family should have a say in it.
So
like
things like
as long as they're close with the person.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing. With these legal battles, like the one we looked at, would you be happy with those happening? Or is there a better alternative? Because those legal battles, they go on for ages, months, years, and they use up time and resources that could be spent elsewhere. Do you think that's the best option?
I do... kind of, because obviously it does need to be discussed,
Yes.
but then at the same time, obviously with the coma patient, you don't have, like, everyone's say. Because with that one, it was just the parents and the husband.
Let's say, for example, you know, this person has a spouse, kids, and parents. Their parents and their spouse, if they disagree, then they can take it to court. If they agree, if they all agree to euthanize this person who is in a coma, who has no say in the matter, should they be allowed to euthanize them?
I think if it has been like a certain amount of years,
like 10 years,
then
more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay,
yeah.
Interesting. But in all other scenarios, no.
No.
So, because what I'm saying is in a very specific but possible scenario. So, if all close friends and family agree, if it's been a long time and they're in a coma, but they've never expressed a willingness to die. What if they had expressed like a specific, like if they had expressed specifically that they don't want to die, and it had been like 10 years and they're in a coma, and everyone else agreed that you might as well just euthanize them? Would that still be okay?
I don't know. I don't think so, because if that person has said that they don't want that,
yeah,
then that's not very fair to, like...
I agree. I think it comes down to consent and free will and personal choice. And I think the only scenario where I think is murky is if there's not really anything to go off and you're not sure if they would want to be euthanized or not. So close friends and family got to decide for them. But I think if there were any specific wishes for or against, then that would be... I mean, I think that's just how it's got to be, I guess. Like, if they've specifically said, I do or I don't want to die in this scenario, yeah, I think that wish should absolutely be respected. That's like the final deciding thing, I think, the personal choice. Because, like, I like no one should die in this situation unless they agree to, unless they want to. No one should die. People should die on their own terms. Unfortunately, nature, you know, defeats us. But in this situation where we have the option, I think the person has to consent. Otherwise, it's not happening. It comes above all. One more scenario for you, Livy, okay? One more. You ready for this?
No,
same again.
Go on.
But the coma patient is a child. They are 8 years old, let's say. You have a comatose 8-year-old with a terminal condition. Should they be put to sleep? And if so, who gets to decide that?
I think it's kind of... like, obviously it would be difficult in any situation, but with a kid, like, obviously... being so young, it's just kind of like, well, I don't know, would, because like if it would, I'd say probably it would be up to the parents, because the kid like would be in a coma, wouldn't really be able to say anything, and most of the time, if you think about it, parents usually like they want what's best for their kid, so obviously they wouldn't want their kid to die, but at the same time they wouldn't want their kid to be lying there suffering.
Indeed. I mean, even if the child wasn't in a coma, let's take away the coma fact of it now. Take that away, remove it. Even if the child isn't in a coma, is a child really going to understand this situation properly? Are they really going to be able to understand, you know, death and how this is, you know, could be called a murder? I don't think so. Which is why they're kind of unable to decide for themselves. And this could go for all people with, like, a mental illness that is, like, you know, removed from them any ability to kind of, like, you know, reason. If it was someone who wasn't in a coma, but wasn't able to reason or decide for themselves, if they were a child or, like, you know, mentally ill or whatever, what then? would there be any scenario where it would be right to euthanize them if they are unable to, you know, express their will? We can come back to this. I think what I would say is that I would just say no by default. I think only if they've expressed their will and there's absolutely no other options. I think that's like the criteria. I think if there's like any doubts or any kind of alternatives, then euthanization shouldn't be on the table. With a child, though, it has to come to the parent. It's really sad, but I honestly, if it was a child, then they literally can't decide. Or like someone with a, you know, who wasn't able to reason, if they had like dementia or something. That's what I'm trying to think of. Someone has dementia, like, and it's like fairly extreme. They would have to have their parents or guardians or whatever decide for them. And I think at the end of the day, in those edge case scenarios, I could probably be okay with someone else who was very close deciding for them, but it still kind of, still feels wrong. But it's, I don't know. I'm just looking at the rest of this article as well. So there's some psychological and physiological, bro, I can't pronounce it, aspects of this. Again, it's the crucial thing is like recognizing the patient's desire to be relieved of pain and suffering. There's religious aspects. If religious, honestly, like I don't think this should have any bearing in any actual legal matters. But if it's a personal choice and someone's religious and they say no for religious reasons or yes for religious reasons, I mean, can't really argue with that. So sure, because I mean most religions like very much anti-death in any way. Anyways, like anti-euthanization, which is fine by me. And it's got more pros and cons here. So I'll just try and sum this up because it's a long article. Well, it's not a long article, but it's got lots of words. You can read this for yourself if you want to get all the details. But basically, the obvious benefits are avoiding sufferings. We already talked about this. You know, free will. We've already talked about this. You know, options. We talked about this. And also saving resources, which I agree with, but I don't think could carry the argument. That's like a bonus. If the whole, I wouldn't like, let's say I'm pro euthanasia. I'm not saying I am. I'm still making my mind up. I came to the stream with all the facts in mind, but I'm creating the argument now because I think I already made my mind up before the stream started, like the other day. But I'm using this as a chance to formulate an argument so I can be sure. I think if I was pro euthanasia, it would be because freedom of choice and being relieved of suffering. As much as saving resources is a valid argument, I don't think I could carry an argument because I simply prioritize that lower than freedom and life. I think saving resources is like bottom. I like that one doesn't really matter to me, whether or not. But you know, there are problems with hospitals and, you know, it's like with prisons. Well, if you kill the worst offenders, I mean, it gives more room for rehabilitation of others, but is that really a right thing to do? And then there's the disadvantages, which again, most of these we've already gone over, is, you know, sanctity of life. You know, life is priceless, and disability and injury shouldn't reduce its value. I understand this, but I think there's a point you have to look at life objectively. If you have a disability or injury that is reducing your quality of life, and there isn't some way to work around it, your life is less valuable. You're definitely enjoying it less. I'm not saying that person is less valuable as a person, unless it's, like, specifically their brain, and maybe they have, like, you know, late stage, like, dementia, and they're not able to think or reason properly, but, like, I still wouldn't, like, regard them as a lesser life form. It's just that, like, their quality of life is, like, maybe I'm not understanding what it means by price or value of life. Actually, I think I'm not understanding. I think I'm talking about something else. Disadvantage of euthanasia. Here's one we haven't talked about. The person's desire to help his or her relatives to avoid suffering. Libby, let's go back to our example cases of where someone else has to decide for the person whether they should be euthanized or not. That is an incredibly difficult choice. Putting that choice on someone else is incredibly tragic and difficult. Especially if it's like parents with a child. Like, how sad is that? Like, I can't even begin to fathom it because obviously I'm not a parent. But like, imagine you work for years to raise a living being, a whole person that you have created, just to be offered the choice to end their life, to end their suffering, or, you know, let them live with whatever terminal illness they have. And I mean, if it's like a hopeless case, they're gonna die anyway, it's just a matter of when. And I think you can use that to argue both for and against euthanasia. Might as well get it over with. Well, it's gonna happen anyway, don't do it. But it's just really tragic either way. So, you know, that's a con. Also, Mithran, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining chat. Okay, for the sake of argument, let's say that the child in the example earlier was at an age where they don't understand death, like 4 instead of 8, it doesn't matter. But if you say so, I don't think I really understood the concept of death till I was 11, because that was the first time I went to a funeral. But I still didn't think about it deeply then, because I was stupid. Sorry, Olivia, is there something you wanted to say?
I think the thing is, with a kid not understanding death, like, if someone told them that they were gonna, like, end up passing away anyway, they would very much, like, I don't think a kid would very much be like, no, I don't want that. But with, like, an older person, they would just be like, they wouldn't want it, but they would be like, well, I've lived my life, I guess. That's kind of like it. But like with a kid, they'd be like, no, a kid would not go down without a fight.
No, they wouldn't. Yeah, the other reasons here again is the legal one. Euthanasia is a form of legalized murder, which means it's kind of a slippery slope. That's kind of a good argument against. And this is why people accuse adherents of euthanasia of having double standards. It is strongly prohibited for a person to kill a man, though it is possible to do it with his or her approval. How is this different from assisted suicide? Assisted suicide is illegal because you're trying to help someone kill themselves, which, depending on the details, could be construed as assisted murder. You know, you could just be manipulating someone into you know, killing themselves for whatever reason. And that's, like, again, it's a very slippery slope that I think requires individual example, like, looks at it. And we could try and trolley problem this, but, you know, suicide is founded, the whole motivation for suicide is always founded on fear and despair and, you know, hopelessness. And that should never be encouraged. Should never be encouraged under any circumstances, because life is precious and we only have so much time. We have no idea what happens on the other side, you know. So I think that's why assisted suicide should remain illegal. That's why I'm against assisted suicide. Is euthanasia that much different? I mean, what do you think? Euthanasia is specifically assisting someone who has, like, a terminal illness. Like, assisted suicide is just helping someone who wants to die. Euthanasia is, you know, killing someone who wants to die because they, you know, they're in a hopeless situation medically, and they're, you know, I guess, honestly, I'm not seeing much of a difference. I mean, the difference seems kind of trivial. The difference is just the subject. Oh, they're just, you know, terminally ill patient. They're gonna die anyway. I think I'm beginning to form an argument here. Do you agree or disagree with that? Like,
I think, like, one thing I like, basically, I think there would have to be, like, certain situations, because if there was, say, a cancer patient that came in and they wanted to be euthanized, then obviously, like, talk to them, see what, like, well, obviously if they've got, like, terminal cancer, they're gonna end up passing away anyway. So if they want to be euthanized and, like, get it over with sooner, then the option's there. But, like, if someone with depression came in, and said they wanted to be euthanized, it's kind of like the difference between, like, that you'd have to think, is it like physical, obviously with, like, physical, there most of the time it can be cured with, like, medicines and stuff, but, like, emotional, like, you have to talk to someone, like, there's not really much they can do in the way, I don't know, that there's not really much they can do in the way of medicine, I guess, if you've got, I'm not really sure, it's just, I think you'd have to look at, like, the emotional side and the physical side of the illnesses.
Yeah, you're right, mental and physical illness, they're different, but they're also very much interconnected and kind of one and the same thing. I mean, the way I see it, mental illness is physical illness. It's just in your brain. And we don't fully understand how our own brains work yet. They're very complex, says the human brain. But yeah, we have some great messages in chat. Hi, welcome to the stream. I love that he just comes on saying, no, it shouldn't. Based as hell, my guy. Based. God. Yeah. You're going to love this ending argument.
He's straight to the point there, though.
Like, I love it when someone just comes in, just gets straight to the point, refuses to elaborate, because he doesn't need to elaborate. Subsoul also has a QOTD. Very complicated question, but I tend to say yes. If they're 100% done for one, sure they want to die, maybe confirm with official documents, I do think it should be off limits under certain conditions. I mean, if they're unable to make the decision for themselves, maybe in that case it could be left to someone they were very close to, but that still feels wrong. I think there's an implied difference. Euthanasia has to be performed by doctors if when a patient is essentially done for. Assisted suicide is anything that's out of those conditions. You're right. I think, yeah, you're right. It's, you know, euthanasia, you have to, like, you know, get the permission, you know, the doctors have to, like, agree to it, you know, you have to get at least, like, one, like, legal, medical professional to agree to it, and I'm sure you'd probably, I mean, it depends, I don't know how this works in countries where it's legal, but, like, do you have to get the consent of their family and relatives, and, like, you know, for them to die, and obviously the person there. We've got some top 10 pro and con arguments with a bunch of quotes from professionals here, which is really interesting. And this is probably the best source. I don't have time to read all of this, but for example, legislation, you know, pro-choice from Michael Irwin, you know, says like, oh, the right to die should be a matter of personal choice. I'm pro-life, but I wouldn't want to be kept unnecessarily alive against my own will. There's a con here, however, from Richard Doerflinger. God, these names are brilliant. And it says, campaigning to end certain people's lives doesn't end suffering. It passes the suffering onto other people, who now have to fear that they are the next in line to be seen as having worthless lives. And, you know, there's a, you know, if this was made a law, it would encourage bad attitudes like, oh, I'm becoming a burden, you should just end me because I'm a burden. Not because they actually, you know, want to die. You know, there's medical perspectives. There's a really good one here. Let me get the Hippocratic Oath. And, you know, to prolong a death in some cases is not helpful. It can be counterproductive, says Robert Olvera. You know. And, yeah, you know. Got an example here about someone called Emily, who was, had a 17-year battle with leukemia. And, I think she wished for death. Whereas the con with the Hippocratic Oath is that the ambivalence and discomfort experienced by a substantial percentage of past participating physicians is directly connected to the Hippocratic Oath. It's like the most important foundational document in medical ethics. The oath clearly states, I will neither give a deadly drug to anybody if asked for it, nor will I make a suggestion to this effect. So, Euthanasia goes directly against the Hippocratic Oath. It goes directly against kind of the code of honor of physicians. You know, when patients nearing the end of life express fears of losing control or being deprived of dignity, compassionate and supportive counseling is called for, not assistance in committing suicide. That's what Ronald W. Pye says. Very good argument. You know, there's stuff about lawmaking here. And there's the slippery slope thing with there, which is again explored here. Some are saying there's no evidence for a slippery slope. They're not supported by valid and reliable evidence. And the other one here says the empirical slippery slope cannot be ignored when one looks at the facts around the world. So, this is kind of one of those stupid arguments where it's just like, the facts say this. No, the facts say this. And it's kind of interpretation. And it's like, they believe different facts. And some arguments are like that. They just go against each other on a fundamental kind of ideological level. And it's like, well, you can't really get anything there. So yeah, there's some good arguments here. Financial motivations as well, like we said about, you know, greedy, you know, relatives who just want to get the, you know, inheritance money or something. So, you can read through all of these on your own time if you want to, guys. There's a lot here, but I think I'm beginning to come to my own conclusion. I think I've got my own argument. I'm going to try and sum all of this up. There's one more article. Which is it's pretty much going over the same things, but I just want to read multiple, you know, just to really get the nuances in there. So, advantages of euthanasia, it says. Pain relief, we talked about this, you know. More control over final decisions in life. Less caregiver guilt? I don't agree. I think there's more caregiver guilt. Because of the contentious nature of euthanization, I just don't think that's true. Obviously, frees up medical funds. Death is inevitable. Here's the thing. Death being inevitable can be used to argue for both sides. Guys, we should legalize euthanasia. Death is inevitable, so why don't we let people die on their own terms and just, you know, make that an option for the terminally ill? Guys, euthanasia should not be legalized. Death is inevitable. They're gonna die anyway. Why do we need to kill them in this context when there's all these risks coming with it? That goes either way. Livy, which argument do you agree with more or less? Like, death is inevitable. Is that a pro or a con to euthanasia for you? Think about it.
This is a difficult one.
Yeah, take your time. I'm just going to keep reading, and you can come back to me when you've got an idea. Last resort. If we were to legalize euthanasia, it should absolutely be classified as a last resort, and there'd need to be a lot of like laws around it. The cons, obviously, devaluation of human life. We talked about this. Prediction of terminal diagnosis is not always accurate. This might lead to a wrong choice where someone is euthanized despite not having a terminal illness. It might not be realistic to expect a medical miracle every time, but we should take an open approach to terminal diagnosis statistics. So there's always the potential for a mistake. For someone to agree to being euthanized, for the doctor to agree under the premise that they had a terminal diagnosis, and then it turns out they didn't, and it's like, we just killed that person. Issues with consent, obviously. There are situations, as we described earlier, with children or, like, you know, mentally ill people, perhaps, who are, like, people who are in a coma who just aren't able to decide. Quality of death? Guys, what's more important? Quality of life or quality of death?
Definitely life.
I want my death to be high quality, guys. What does that even mean? Like, I guess a painless death? But no one should ever go through a situation when they feel like the doctor is trying to talk them into the euthanasia process. I can't remember where it was, but there was an article that said, what if it fails? What if you give someone the lethal injection and then they survive? How awkward would that be? What's palliative care? Avoids the benefits of palliative care. Giving up on life because of some challenging situation is not the right message for doctors to convey to their patients. However, trying to improve the life of a terminal patient, euthanasia seeks to take what remains of a person's life away from them. Palliative care is like care for the dying, basically. It's like hospices rather than hospitals. I think that's what that is. Corruption. Many believe that legalizing euthanasia could prompt doctors to abuse their position and put too much power in their hands. Slippery slope. If voluntary euthanasia is legal, there's a danger of it developing into a slippery slope where, you know, yep, self-centered relatives. We talked about this, yeah. And the conclusion on this article says that, you know, kind of, before jumping into a conclusion, it's better to put ourselves in the shoes of the patient, patient's family, and other people involved with the decision. If someone is mentally sound and wishes to proceed in this manner instead of hoping for a miracle, then this option can help make it a reality. It is not our place to dictate an outside sense of morality or ethics on them. So this is pro-euthanasia under limited and specific rules. And I think that's the key part. Limited and specific. Livy, what was it I asked you again? I already forgot.
It was...
Death is inevitable. That was it, yeah.
Yeah, and if that's a pro or con.
What do you think? If you can't make your mind up, that's fine. But I think I've made my mind up.
Yeah, no, I'm unsure about it, because the thing is...
Okay.
There might be some people out there who are like, well, if we all die eventually, just live life to the fullest, go have fun, do whatever. But then, again, there's also that side of, if we're all gonna die, why not just get it over with?
Why don't we
Which
just
is
all
kind of
kill
like-
ourselves now? Why don't we just genocide the entire population, because we're all gonna die anyway?
When you phrase it like that, that sounds...
That is nihilism. That's
yeah,
what nihilism is.
I would say... To be honest, after you say that, I think it's more of a thing that...
Nihilism is incredibly stupid. Like, they are actually clowning. Nihilism is like saying, I'm not gonna wipe my ass because I'm gonna shit again anyway, and it's gonna get dirty again anyway. Why ever tidy up or clean when it's just gonna get dirty or again anyway, Why, eat because I'm gonna get hungry again afterwards anyway. Why drink? I'm gonna get thirsty again anyway. It's such a mind-boggling, stupid, take. I don't know how anyone genuinely believes in it. I'm sure you guys can immediately see why it's stupid, It ain't beautiful because it lasts forever, Nothing lasts forever, good or bad, so why should we act like, we're aiming for that? Hell, maybe death doesn't last forever, who knows? I want to die.
Talking about zombies now?
I'm talking about reincarnation, bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, the bitch just felt necessary. I've been watching too much Breaking Bad. Yo, Mr. White. You're an artist. Yeah, Mr. White, yeah, science. I'm sorry. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna just nuke the world, BRB. But yeah, PT Pizza Quality DJ is just like Matthew. Alright, I'm gonna stop with the joking. It's a serious topic. I'm joking to keep things lighthearted because I think we should be allowed to joke about anything. As long as it's, done tastefully. If it's done in poor taste, roast the shit out of them. But no taboos, alright? Not on Mr. Matt. Guys, I've got an argument, and I'm going to write it up right now. But before I present it, do we want to make any final arguments in chat? Does anyone want to have a go at the QOTD? Should euthanasia be legalized? Yes or no, and why? We don't even have to elaborate. Hive, that could be a QOTD if you put QOTD in your question, because, well, I mean, I'm just saying, man. Anyway. Yeah, any final arguments that we want to make?
Yeah, I think I'm more leaning towards the side of the whole death is inevitable, so live your life to the fullest kind of thing, rather than just end it.
Mm-hmm. I think I believe in nihilism, but in a positive way. Tell me, Mithran. Tell me what that is. I might be able to define it for you. That sounds funny. Nothing matters, so live life to the fullest. Now that is an ideology I can get on board with. Hive wins security just by saying no. That'd be funny as, yeah. I kind of want to give it to him. I could give 2 people the win. I've done that before. Sometimes I even give 3 people when we get loads of QOTDs, but Someone has to lose, I'm afraid. That's just how it is, boys. Okay, hold on. I'm typing up my argument because I want to sum it up perfectly. I'm trying to think. So we've talked about all of the kind of like morality of, you know, free choice, freeing up resources. What else did we talk about? What else did we talk about? Let me go back to my sources. Oh boy. Relieving suffering. You know, and there was religious reasons, there was the Hippocratic Oath, there was, you know, child euthanasia, infant homicide. What did it say? Was it homicide? Yeah. It's often compared because child can't express their will. Okay. Okay, I think I've got my argument. No one's got anything. What are we saying in chat? Nihilism is the belief that nothing matters in the end. So I look at it like, yes, nothing matters, so I'm going to do what I want and be happy for as long as I want for the duration of my existence. I don't know what that's called, but I don't think that's nihilism. I like that, though. It's like, nothing matters, so do as you please. Do whatever you want. Exactly.
Within reason.
I mean, well, that's the thing, right? I mean, obviously, you're not just going to start doing loads of illegal shit because causes have consequence. You've got to live your life in prison if you do bad stuff. So, you know, that's why we need to obey the rules of society and be, like, polite and considerate to others. But that's not a big ask. It's, you know, it's not a big ask to ask for decency, to treat others as you would wish to be treated. We're all equal in the end. We're all just, you know, tiny little, you know, life forms on this floating rock in the middle of the vast void of nothingness. You know, we all might as well do whatever we can to make each other happy and help each other as, yeah, well, you know, that's a selfless mindset that I try to live by. I wouldn't call it nihilistic at all, but yeah. Hold on. Okay, I've got my argument, guys. I'm ready. You ready?
Yes.
I actually need a minute to finish it up. I'm just realizing. I've got it. Okay. I had made my mind up before we started the stream on whether I was pro or anti-euthanasia. But as I hope I've demonstrated with this stream, as with any of the debates we do, it is so much more complicated than that. There are always nuances to this topic. You know, people who are pro-euthanasia wouldn't want someone to die. It's only under specific circumstances, you know? I would say, you know, we shouldn't make euthanasia legal unless you've got, like, you know, a medical professional and the consent of the, you know, afflicted person, who is, you know, able to reason and is in a good mental state, as well as probably, you know, at least a say from friends and family, you know, like that legal battle, that was good, and, you know, probably a legal professional as well, you know, and it should only be done as a last resort when all other options are off the table, you know, and, you know, should absolutely not be undergone, if it's kind of an assisted suicide situation. Because here's the thing, guys, here's the thing. Assisted suicide is illegal because you're promoting suicide. Assisting someone else to die is just bad. Like, there's really no excuse. Even if, you know, there were fairly, you know, moral reasons for it, it's a bad action. And euthanasia, in my honest opinion, really isn't that different. If euthanasia was made legal, it would encourage suicidal thoughts for people in the situation, and, you know, would probably step away from palliative care and the better solutions. Here's what I've written. Alright. Euthanasia should not be legalized. Should not be legalized. Even if it required a strict process that required the consent of a terminally ill patient with no other options remaining, a licensed medical professional, a licensed legal professional, and family and guardians, under the pretense of relieving suffering, there is the potential for all kinds of risks and evils. Incorrect diagnosis, guilt and suffering of the relatives, potential encouragement of suicide over solutions, slippery slope of legal murder, morally questionable scenarios, etc., etc., etc. All of the cons of euthanasia are simply not worth the benefit, because how many people would actually be euthanized each year? Out of 100,000, maybe a dozen or two? You know, less than 1 in 1,000. I mean, we're talking about just people who are terminally ill, just people who are in care, you know, out of like 1 million people, maybe less than 100. You know, a dozen or two people in a year out of the entire UK population. I don't, you know, maybe they are suffering greatly, and maybe their situation is hopeless, but it's very simple. If they want to die, just stop taking the medication. As the patient, they should have the right to refuse medication, and then they can just take their chances, basically, you know? And suicide isn't illegal, so they could just commit suicide, but I'm not encouraging that at all. I think everyone should fight for their life. Because everyone deserves to live. Because life is always, always worth living. There has to be hope. There has to be something. And, like, you know, people have done all kinds. And overcome all kinds of incredible challenges. Despite, you know, crippling disabilities. And all kinds of things. I don't think euthanasia should ever be legalized. I think there's just far too much risk. And it's only helpful to very few in edge case scenarios. So, we may as well leave it. Because for the people who would be pro-euthanasia, I mean, if the people who would want to die, I think they should just be allowed to refuse or stop taking their medication and then just die of natural causes, you know? I guess that would be painful, I guess it would take a while, but I think, you know, better that than risking killing people in a legal way, you know, that is morally questionable, that prolongs the suffering of others, that may actually be founded on an incorrect diagnosis. I think it's just not worth the risk. I would rather a few old, terminally ill people would just take the L. And yeah, I know, that's not very nice, that's bad. But better that than political corruption that could arise from creating a legal form of murder that could be exploited with certain loopholes. Not worth the risk. And that's my final say in it, so I'm actually going to pause the music here. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we end the stream? Because that's everything I've got to say. How long have we been going? We're going for an hour and 3/4. I should have done a break. I forgot to do a break. Anything to say, Livy?
I honestly, I do agree it should be illegal, because if it gets, like, if politicians come into it and that sort of thing,
Well, they
that's
have to. It's their
not
job.
gonna, it's not gonna end well.
Yeah, I am
So-
aware that there was a good argument on, I believe, this page about not putting a blanket ban on termination. Like, argument number 5 of the pros of euthanasia, according to Soapboxy. I didn't even name the other websites. Studycorgieuthanasia.com, .procon.org, and Honest Proscons. But, you know, it is therefore imperative that rules for when it is right to end a life are explored, rather than a blanket ban on termination under certain circumstances. To this argument, I would say, we have explored the options. We have explored the right to die. We have explored the potential. And while I think, again, I don't know why someone would want to die, but while I think, yeah, I guess people should have a right to die, suicide is there. I'm not saying anyone should do it. I don't encourage it. I absolutely would be against it. But for the people who absolutely want to die and will not be persuaded otherwise because they have a terminal condition or something, I mean, I guess, you know, they can do that. It's not punishable by law. It's kind of a terrible thing to do. Like, I would look down on someone for committing suicide because, thanks, you just left a body and a mess that someone else has to clean up. Fuck you. You know, I think there's always got to be some other way, because I'm optimistic, I guess, but we've explored everything, and there are far too many risks for euthanasia to be legalized. There's just far too many risks. Even if the process was, like, tight and, like, you know, sealed and it was clean, I don't think it's good. It feels wrong morally, and there's all kinds of legal implications and practical implications that put me off it. So I am absolutely against euthanasia. I don't think it can work. I don't think it can. So I understand the arguments pro. I think there's some good arguments, and I think in theory it could be implemented pretty well, but I think in practice it's too risky. So we've explored it, and that's why I do think there should be a blanket ban on it. That's my argument. If you disagree or if you agree, feel free to let me know in the comments below. That is the end of the stream. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and share this with your friends. Support is very much appreciated. I love doing these kind of debates. We should absolutely do more of these more often. It's been too long. You know, it's just like finding these good topics and actually doing the research, because I got to actually work on this like a history assignment, and I'm going to have actual history assignments coming up soon because I'm going back to uni. But it was fun and really interesting and introspective to come back to this, and I think having just one person to talk to it about it with was you know, really helpful for actually, you know, making it really intellectual and focused, rather than like all rowdy and full of, you know, other voices. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, guys. Check the links in the description below. Today's charity shout out, our cause goes to Child's Play Charity. I don't know if I'm gonna like bring these up regularly or not. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But it was actually Windbug who shared. Where is it? There was a thing going on. They basically, Deltarune, you know, Toby Fox, has started a charity event using, you know, his characters and ideas. You can see this like Spamton inspired webpage, and it's actually, you know, all part of I don't know what's going on here. This is all part of like some event, and they're basically raising money for Child's Play. So I went to their charity page, and you can read like the FAQ and stuff, for example. But these guys are a children's hospital that are dedicated to improving the lives of children confined to hospitals all across the world by bringing video games and, you know, games to them. Again, kind of like Lollipop Theatre with movies, except these guys are with video games. They're trying to bring a sense of normalcy and kind of, you know, fun to children who are confined to hospitals and can't live proper normal lives. In fact, they've got a nice video here that's about a minute long, so I'm gonna play this at the end. But yeah, all the other links are in the description, my social medias and stuff. Livy, is there anything you want to say, you know, before we end the stream? I'm actually going to I feel like I should post that somewhere. I don't know, I might post that onto the Hydration Nation. Tell you what, guys, I'm gonna start a thread on the Hydration Nation. If you want to discuss in more depth, we can talk about this. But yeah, Livy, is there anything else you want to say before we end? Been very quiet, but I know that's how you roll.
Yeah. No, there's nothing you can think of the top of my head.
I mean, what's your final conclusion? Do you agree wholly with my statement? Was there anything you disagree with that I said?
I think I agree fully with it. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm glad I've got you here, because I trust you to just be honest and not just agreeing with me because you look up to me or you don't want to seem rude or, like, you don't know how to handle talking about a controversial topic like an adult. Like, I know that that is genuinely your opinion, because it is a difficult one, and I could see ways to support euthanasia in a limited and specific way, but for me, it's just not worth the risk. We've explored it, and that's why I'm putting a blanket ban on it. It's informed. And that's what makes a difference from just saying no because it's evil, because it's killing. We've explored the nuances, we've explored the possibilities. It's not worth the risks. I'm giving a shout out to Hive. I don't care if he didn't even intend that to be a QOTD. I don't care if that's literally the only thing he put in the entire stream. He just came here, he just said no, it shouldn't, didn't elaborate, left. I don't care. Hive is a fucking giga chad, and he's got a really big channel with lots of great, hot, trending videos on it, and oh, I love this guy. Seriously, you should go subscribe to him. He's done some great videos. I haven't watched the latest ones, but he's made some pretty based videos, and you should go subscribe to him. So I'm gonna give him the QOTD win, but also I didn't have the QOTD win in charity shout out here for some reason completely. Oopsie. But why were these not here? Oh, wait, no, they're down here. What am I doing? Guys, I'm really bad at this. Hold on. Hold on. Resume the music. We can end with this music. But yeah, Child's Play charity, obviously, link in the description. I'm gonna watch their video now. And yeah. I mean, I don't know. The Supercell did a really good argument. I respect the effort. I can't ignore it. But then again, it was only you two. I don't know. I don't know. I want to give it to you anyways. I want to give it to you because you argued against. You argued pro euthanasia, and I respect it. QOTD winners. Right, there we go. Let's watch this video and let's end the stream. Oh yeah, check out Super Soul. I showed off his channel many times. If you aren't already subscribed, I don't know what you're doing.
We're Child's Play.
Should probably pause the music actually.
We've been very, very busy.
So here's their video about Child's Play.
Of all kinds to hundreds of child welfare facilities across the world. Taking a little of the
This voice sounds like it was
and bringing it inside.
artificially generated. I should talk over it.
Sharing our expertise
This is what they do.
to help make children's lives better. Child life specialists provide therapeutic play and education to reduce fear, anxiety, and pain for pediatric patients, making their lives a little easier and a little happier. Child's Play works directly with Child Life staff to create a wish list specific to their facility, ensuring donations are used to their fullest. We've raised more than $44 million so far, and our work reaches more than 1 million kids per year. Come be a part of our story and learn more at childsplaycharity.org.
So that's Child's Play. Sorry I talked over a bit, but I'll probably play this video in future streams. So yeah, consider donating, guys. They're a great cause. And yeah, that is all now. Take us out the music. Livy, I'm gonna leave the call unless you want to do goofy outro stuff. But I mean, I doubt you're not really into that.
No.
That's okay. Livy, I will see you around. What is it? What?
I will say my outro on your channel.
Oh, okay.
You've done it on my channel.
That would be funny. Yeah. All right, Livy, take it away. You've got about 30 seconds. Thank you so much for watching. And oh boy, I ran out of hydration. Just a drop. Better go refill. Stay hydrated.
Oh, Matthew. Okay, guys. Okay. Guys, be sure to like, subscribe if you're watching this after the stream is finished. Opinion, what you think. And until the next video, keep sparkling like stars in the galaxy. Bye!